lighting people, it's LightFair 2022, and we're pleased to be joined today by Current for a very special 5 Big Questions interview at LightFair 2022. I'm Al Uzinski with Inside Lighting, and joining me today are Manish Bhandari, the president and CEO of Current, and Tom Benton, formerly a top executive with Hubble Lighting, now VP and general manager for Current's Luminaires business. Gentlemen, welcome, and Manish, let's start with you. This is kind of a bookend. At the last LightFair, you folks announced the acquisition of Hubble Lighting. At this LightFair, you're coming together under one brand. Tell us more about this new brand initiative for Current.
Well, Al, as you and I talked before, this was the time where we have these 2 iconic companies which have come together. It was time for the future, the new identity, the new persona. So you've seen it around, as in I personally saw it beyond a PowerPoint chart yesterday. But our new logo has been defined as simple, elegant, bold. Some people look at it for a long time and they say it is 3-dimensional. There is light cutting through dark. Customer centricity, is it LED chip? I think all of those are wonderful denominations to where the future is here. Because our aim is to put an umbrella brand for the house of brands that we have created. I think, you will see it written very often, 1 + 1 = 35. We now have 35 major customer-facing brands and about 90 second-layer brands which are there behind it. So what we are immensely proud of is our brand portfolio, the personalities which are there in those brands. So the companies are together, our organization is merged together, our persona is merged together, and now the only thing we are looking at is the future.
Well, it's a great story, and obviously made a big news at the last LightFair, and now with these 2 legendary brands under one roof and under one branding persona. You folks previously, as the GE Current, before the acquisition, you had lots of different channels, lots of paths to market, horticultural business and others, but now you bring in, particularly on the C&I side with the different agent sales forces and specifiers who want to specify downlights and high bays and things like that. How do we, at the brand level, best differentiate all the different offerings that you have now?
Well, as I think I've been very consistent about it from the very beginning. If you just look at it today, we have 7 channels in every geographic territory. I know we talk very often about the C&I channels, but between the roadway and the signage and the refrigerated lighting and the horticulture and the lamp, we have multiple channels in play today. The defining and the fundamental principle that we use is an agency is exclusive to the brand, and the brand has its specifications, features, differentiation which are unique to that brand. So that's how we define it. We have consistently maintained it. And then when you come into the C&I space, yes, we have the GLI channel and the HLI channel. We were consistent from day one. We said this is exactly how we're going to do it. And at the end of the day, the underlying reason for this is commercial. It basically gives us a higher access to the market because these 2 channels, more or less, they don't compete with each other. One is more a supply side or an independent spec channel, and the other one is classic specification agencies. So I think we have talked to all our agency partners. Frankly, the world has settled down. There was a degree of upheaval when people didn't know. And there is a saying that people will take bad news over uncertainty any day. Here, there was no bad news. There was only good news.
It sounds like it, and it sounds like you also delineating things both internally as a new, larger company, as well as externally on the market side. You mentioned HLI, GLI. Am I correct to understand that HLI is the business formerly known as Hubble Lighting, and GLI is pretty much everything else?
Within the contractual bounds that I sign in these acquisition agreements, yes, absolutely.
Great. So Tom, sounds like on that side, things are fairly well delineated. Let's talk about kind of the product side of things, and we see this in automotive industry and electronics and other industries where different brands might share a different automotive chassis that goes into luxury and then more economical offerings in different other businesses. So from your business standpoint, will we see a day when some of your products, some of the indoor or outdoor luminaires start to look like one another and have a similar ingredient list?
I think that for all of our brands, the brands exist because they provide different value propositions. They hit different segments of the market. They provide the value to the specific customers that we're trying to go after. The reality is if we take a look at where we're at, there are similarities in chunks of the portfolio in terms of where it exists at the component level, drivers, those kinds of products. There are certainly synergies on that side. But the reality is our brands, the value proposition is based on the products that are inside of those and the differentiation they bring together. So by starting to try and find a way to be able to share those across, you actually dilute the value proposition. It doesn't mean we won't tap into the same leverage technologies and the components where we need to, but we've got to maintain that individuality and that value to be able to be successful with it.
That makes sense, and it looks like it's been a lot of work up till this point. A lot more.
A lot more to go,
for sure. And one of the things Manish mentioned, 35 or so brands. It was one of those in the
I could go A to Z. I could spit them all up, I think.
Well, let's just talk about one, because I hear you have a new brand that you've launched, and it's in the realm of complex environments, which I think is something you have personal, one of your personal wheelhouse areas of knowledge.
It's been a while, but it's been a long time coming.
So tell us about the new brand.
Lifeshield is our new complex environment brand. It's a category in which we haven't been deeply involved with in the past. We've had collections of solutions inside the patient room area. But when we talk about being a full-service supplier to the marketplace, it means having the solutions for surgical, MRI, behavioral, vandal, transportation, and having a broad package and a portfolio to be able to get it. So we spent the time developing that full portfolio, and it'll be rolling out in the months ahead completely, so we've got that complete package to bring to the table.
Okay, so if someone wants to buy a few dozen pallets of Lifeshield, correct?
Well, there's a lot of products inside Lifeshield, so you got to pick a product inside Lifeshield.
All right, so vandal-resistant sconce, that's going to then turn into a logistics conversation, a price increase possibility, et cetera. So, Manish, when we look at your business, those are some of the things we've been dealing with, right? Inflation, price increases, a looming recession possibly, according to certain economists. So, how would you describe the business right now, and where is Current maybe navigating these challenging waters better than the average lighting company?
I think inflation is here to stay for a while. If you are an optimist, I think you would say it's about a 2-year cycle. If you are more of a realistic, it is 3 to 5 years is what we are looking at. Inflation isn't going away anytime soon. Now, at the same time, you are seeing inflation not just in commodities. I think there is a commodity piece of it. There is a freight piece of it, which is largely linked to the gas prices. There is also manufacturing industry, because of the geopolitical environment, is moving significantly, and that causes wage pressures in certain areas. In some ways, I would almost call them unexpected wage pressures which are coming through. I think that is just the world we live in, and that is not something that we can control. So what it really comes down to is, if you are a responsible company, you have to manage it responsibly, which doesn't mean that you pass everything out as a price. You have to become a lot more competitive company. You have to ensure efficiency and effectiveness is a part of it. You have to continue to deliver the value proposition. And yes, some of the pricing elements also do come into play. But at the end of it, price cost is a phenomena working in any enterprise or a large corporation or a large industry. What is very important is you effectively manage it. You continually remain in a position where you are able to invest in the business. So we will continue to do that. But there is another element which comes in into the foundational reason why we put GE, Current, and Hubble Lighting together. It has to be, when you are going through choppy waters, it is better to be in a large ship. And I think that's why we are able to navigate it better than most others.
That's a great comparison, and I'm inspired. It's two really important, very large brands coming together under one roof, and your strategy is kind of rolling out in front of us like a chapter book. I think we're still in the early parts of this chapter book, but it's exciting. The promise is great. Tom, I'm excited about this Lifeshield brand and everything else that we shared on the product side. And thank you both for sharing your insights about the strategy, the direction. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for a very strategic, very interesting, and inspiring discussion about these two very large companies coming together into one under the new name Current.
Thank you, Al.